Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Evan Writes. Today is going to be a really fun day because it is another challenge video. This challenge was given to me by DR Ranger Writing, or rather I was invited by him to participate in this challenge among other Authortubers. So I'm pretty excited to see what they are going to do as well. But in this challenge, the idea is we are going to take a character from any type of media, whether it be movies, whether it be books, video games, whatever. We choose a character and we swap their behaviors. We swap their personality in a way that fits the title. Now, the challenge is called the good to bad or the bad to good. So essentially we are taking a good character and making them bad, or a bad character and making them good. It's a little bit more murky when we get into more of the morally gray characters, so I tried to stay away from a morally gray character for this. I chose Vin from Mistborn. So if you like Mistborn, hopefully you'll like this as well, or if you like any Brandon Sanderson stuff. Now, my writing does not come anywhere close to his, but I'm still pretty excited to take one of his stories, one of his characters, and swap them on their head for just a little bit. The basis of this idea is we choose that character, we take that character, and after we swap their personality, the next step is to draw that character. Now, I got a little bit more carried away in this. I spent more time drawing than I did writing because I like to draw and I'm an artist at heart, even though I also do a lot of writing. So I will show the drawing when I'm done reading the story. But afterwards, we are supposed to write a scene or a short story featuring this character with the change of their personality, whether they were good or whether they are bad, and how it's swapped. I'm pretty excited to bring this to you today. It's another one of these videos where, guess what? I'm going to be reading something that's completely unedited, so I hope it's okay. This challenge is a collaboration between DR Ranger Writing, Candace Teague, Danica Hu, Z Falk, Tommy Doolin, Charlotte Armstrong, and, of course, me. Before we get started, I want to give a quick spoiler warning. If you have not yet read Mistborn, I would advise you to skip this video entirely because there will be some spoilers for the first Mistborn book coming up. I would prefer you read Mistborn on your own before you watch this video so as not to get anything spoiled, and you can have a good experience when you read that book because it should be a must-read for almost anybody. I believe it's a really cool book. I liked it. The magic system is amazing, and I just can't praise it enough. It's not the best fantasy book, but it is up there to the must-read section in my opinion. Anyway, moving on. Spoiler warning is given. Let's get to the story. To give a brief backstory of this scene follows Kelsey's death near the end of Mistborn, and it follows Vin after those events. So if you go to around chapter 35, 36 in the original Mistborn, this scene takes place around that time as an alternate scene if Vin took a different route and instead of going the good route and following Kelsey's instructions, ended up going with the Lord Ruler instead. Let's get into it. Vin walked solemnly toward Creedic Shaw. The sky behind her was somber and quiet. The mist hung in the air, twirling lightheartedly in spite of the heavy air brought on by the day's events. Darkness fell and reminded her of a weight she'd almost forgotten in recent years. I trusted you, Kelsey, she thought. I actually did. Regardless of all the warnings, I trusted you. I never should have. Now you've left me alone. You didn't even fight back. So why fight any longer? You promised your crew had no betrayals, but what of your betrayal? Yours was the worst of them all. Reen was right. Everybody leaves. 4 armed guards watched nervously as Vin approached the palace gates. Her mist cloak fluttered around her feet as she took each step on the mist-dampened stone below. The guards recognized her cloak, unsure of how to respond. The world had been quiet since the massacre hours before. The massacre that began with the death of the survivor of Hathsin. Now a Mistborn intended to visit the palace? One of the guards shook off his confusion and poised his spear toward Vin, who kept pace without slowing an inch. Before the guard could open his mouth to speak, Vin flared steel. A coin ripped from her outstretched hand, pelting the guard through his forehead. It was over quickly. The coin, with the aid of a flared steel push, ripped through the guard's skull like a knife through warm butter. Before the remaining 3 guards could compose themselves, Vin took a step to the side and pulled the coin back with a quick burning of iron. Now that her position had been adjusted, the coin ripped back through a second guard and raced straight toward Vin, who caught it gently after slowing it with a soft burst of steel. The 2 remaining guards dropped their weapons and began to turn and run when Vin stopped them. Burning iron, she pulled herself towards one of the guards' metal chest plate. This caused the guard to trip and fall backward toward Vin. However, due to their weight difference, Vin was approaching the guard much more quickly. Just before impact, Vin flared pewter, strengthening her muscles to the point where she left a tight human-shaped dent in the soldier's breastplate, the air having been knocked out of him by the impact, the dented armor squeezing his chest to prevent easy breathing. The guard drifted into unconsciousness. Vin quickly took care of the remaining guard, who was in the process of making a mad dash in the opposite direction with a final coin shot. "Thanks," she said, then pushed the door open and entered Creedic's Shaw. Vin walked down the corridor, eventually passing the same guard chamber she'd seen before with Kelsier. She strode inside, quickly taking out the few guards by surprise with a single coin. She entered the hallway beyond and pushed against the lantern brackets on the wall, causing her to speed down the hallway airborne much faster than she could have run. She reached the end of the corridor and allowed herself to sink back onto the ground. Her mist cloak fell around her body as she slowed. She passed through the archway leading to the dome-roofed central chamber that Kelsier had never made it past in various visits to Creedic's Shaw. Silver murals lined the walls, twinkling gently in the firelight streaming from the braziers in the corner. The floor was a sleek ebony marble. 2 inquisitors stood, blocking her path. Vin strode resolutely through the room, approaching the building within a building that was her end goal. "We search all this time," smiled one of the inquisitors, his voice raspy and forced. "And yet you come to us for a second time." Vin stopped a few feet into the room and stared down the inquisitors. They both smiled, their towering forms looming nearly 2 feet higher than Vin. Their disjointed teeth betrayed a hint of well-placed confidence. Vin burned atium, then whipped her hands from behind her cloak, revealing a handful of stone arrowheads. While she couldn't push stone, she had previously inlaid each of the arrowheads with a metal ring. Pushing on that metal ring would allow her to fire each stone arrowhead as if it were one of her own coins. The stone bullets ripped across the room at one of Vin's pushes. One of the inquisitors chuckled, raised his hand to push against the stones. His push ripped the metal rings from the ends of each arrowhead, while the arrowheads themselves continued forward with the deadly momentum of Vin's initial push. The inquisitors gasped in surprise as dozens of arrowheads struck them, many piercing the body completely while a few lodged themselves roughly into bone. One of the inquisitors collapsed, his body spasming. The second fell to his knees, growling. Vin approached swiftly, unsheathing a glass dagger from her belt and quickly beheading the second inquisitor. His unworldly blood didn't gush at her attack, but simply began to trickle down his now headless neck. Vin grabbed a nearby basin and kneed the inquisitor's body into position. As his blood drained into the basin, Vin ripped the spikes from each of the inquisitors and collected them within the bloody basin, all according to plan. With the aid of flared pewter, Vin burst through the door leading to the building within a building. She scanned the chamber quickly, noticing a fur rug at her feet. Whatever the Lord Ruler held within, she could use it to bribe him to gain what she wanted. She quickly noticed that the room had only one exit, which was the shattered door behind her. The walls were decorated with ornately dyed animal pelts and strange furs she didn't recognize. A few old paintings hung on the walls, but their colors were faded and showed barely a hint of what must have been. It appeared to be a study. Just then, a chair at the center of the room spun, revealing an older man. Vin wasn't sure how, but something told her that this was the Lord Ruler. Almost an answer to her assumption, the age melted away before her eyes, and the man sitting before her was the same strong presence that had killed her mentor earlier that day. "You have 10 seconds to explain yourself, girl." His voice was calm, but the strength behind it caused her to tremble. "Before I kill you." Vin knelt where she was, bearing before her the basin full of blood and spikes. "I wish to serve you, Lord Ruler. I wish to become one of your immortal inquisitors." The Lord Ruler laughed, a shrill, icy laugh. A Mistborn, an Inquisitor. Well, I do suddenly find myself down 3 of my own, including the one that man took from me earlier today. Why should I entrust you with power? Ben smiled. Everyone I know leaves me. They all die eventually. Today it dawned on me. The only one I can serve, the only one worthy of my loyalty is you, Lord Ruler. You are immortal and all-powerful, the only being who will never leave, and thus the only one worthy of my trust. I pledge myself to you. The Lord Ruler stood, approaching Vin with the nonchalance of a man who knew he couldn't be killed. You must prove yourself by providing your own mistings to Spike. Your first 2 will be free. The Lord Ruler proceeded to grab 2 of the spikes from the bloody basin and thrust them through Vin's eyes. Vin hung in the air, balancing herself using coins spread out in 3 different locations like a tripod. Blue lines streamed out in all directions from the metal spikes piercing her eyes, giving her a vague visibility of the men below. She knew who they were: Ham, Breeze, Spook, and even Sazed. Vin smiled devilishly. While it was true that she was already a Mistborn, hemalurgic spikes augmented the power of each corresponding metal immensely, even more than flaring the base metal. She let herself fall gently to the ground to greet her old friends for the last time. She would soon be the Lord Ruler's most powerful Inquisitor ever. I hope you enjoyed that story. Now here's the last bit. I'm going to show my drawing of Vin as an Inquisitor. And I had a lot of fun drawing this. I'd add more detail and I would have colored it, but I ran out of time. I had a really busy week, so I'm surprised I even got to write as much as I did. I really wanted to go further into that story and spend a little bit more time on parts of the scenes, but I kind of had to rush through the ending part of it. I hope it was fun to listen to and think about what could have happened, because I believe it is a believable scenario given how Vin felt following Kelsier's death in the ending segments of Mistborn, that she would hate everything and feel betrayed by Kelsier and everybody around her, and realize that everybody would leave her eventually, and come to the conclusion that there's only one person in the world besides herself that wouldn't be able to leave her, and that would be the immortal Lord Ruler. So I felt that this could have been a potential change to Vin that could have happened naturally had Kelsier not done his plan as well as he had laid it out, to where Vin actually found his instructions afterward and found out that Kelsier did have plans for her and didn't necessarily abandon her entirely. Had that not happened, had Kelsier just died and not left instructions, or Vin not find those instructions, I believe that things would not have turned out the exact same way, and Vin might have gone this route. So I had a lot of fun writing the segments. I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoyed my drawing. I hope you're having a great day. Go ahead and check out the other videos. If you have not yet checked them out, make sure you do. I'm sure this will be in a playlist at some point. If not, I will do my best to link everybody's video in the description below once their videos are up. So they probably won't be there right away, but I will edit them in later. Have a great day, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and peace out.